Tegan, how did that feel? Obviously getting a chance to start with an injury to Mackenzie Arnold. Were you happy with your performance tonight? Clean sheet?
Yeah, of course I'm happy with that. It was a clean sheet, and more importantly, I'm just really happy for the girls. I think they worked really hard tonight, and I think, we just really needed that as a team, as a collective, to get a clean sheet. So, not just me, really happy for the team. Yeah.
Follow-up?
Yeah, and for yourself, obviously pushing to get that #1 spot back with the Asian Cup coming up, how important is it to make the most of these opportunities?
Yeah, of course it's important. I mean, it's still far away, but of course it's on the forefront of all our minds. But, for me, it's just one game at a time, and, that's just how I'm taking it. Yeah.
Next one, Amanda.
Tegan, after the She Believes Cup campaign, how important was this for the team as a whole to put this performance together on home soil? Yeah,
like I said, I think that's a big relief kind of performance from us as a collective, because it was a really hard tournament for us, and we didn't accept that as a playing group. We didn't want to go out that way, and we kind of came together and we said, let's turn things around, and I think we did that tonight, and I'm really proud of that. But we go again Monday, I guess.
Any follow-up? Aisha, followed by Vince, and then Palladi.
So Tegan, you had that absolutely wonderful save today. How did you feel after that? Steph Cutley came over and gave a little high five. How did you feel?
I mean, she's big hype queen. I think everyone got around it. But like I said, it felt like a team effort. Whether it was Lance having a great header out the box, we all got around each other. So, like I said, I felt like that was a big collective kind of group effort tonight.
Vince?
How difficult was the disruption just leading to the game? You had players sort of dropping like flies, and obviously Mackenzie going down and training as well. Was it difficult to come together with a week like that leading into this game?
Yeah, I think so, and plus travel, and I think it's so many things for our Triple SM team to manage, and obviously Tommy to also manage. I think that just shows that the importance of squad depth right there, and that gives opportunity for people to step up, so it's good.
Any follow-up, Vince? Palladi?
One of the things that we've seen over the last couple of months is after the She Believes Cup, is a lot of the players gone back to the European clubs, yourself included, and have sort of been not struggling for game time a little bit. How important is it to be able to come out tonight for all of you to put on a good performance and sort of get back into that match rhythm? That's
actually such a good question. I think it's so important for us to come back together as a group and play minutes together. It is really hard going back to Europe, and that's the downfall of playing for Australia and all this travel that we do, because clubs can use that. For us to get minutes in the tank, but also to come together as a group, it's so important, especially with the lead up to Asian Cup.
We'll do final 2 questions for Tegan.
Obviously, South Korea are going to be in the Asian Cup. What was it like to get a hit out against them with that, obviously fast approaching? Yeah,
I think it's a good test, and when we're versing these Asian countries, it's exactly what we're going to see in about just under a year's time, nearly. So it is a good test for us, and we're going to see different pitches, whether it's Japan, South Korea. I think for us it's really, really good learnings from tonight.
Tegan, even before Mackenzie suffered her arm injury, were you expecting to be playing in at least one of these matches, as you've done in recent times with the national team?
I think that decision's all up on Tommy, to be fair. So
Do you feel like you've come out from Mackenzie's shadow, I guess, in a way, over the past year or so, and that now you are competing for that role between the sticks on a competitive field?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I feel like I'm coming back and I feel really good in myself, and it's a tough question, but yeah, for sure.
All right, that concludes with Tegan Micah. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Well done to you. All right. That's the easy questions done. Okay, just fire away.
Okay, Vince.
One of the highlights from our perspective was Holly McNamara, her performance up front. How did you like her game and the way she combined with particularly Kate?
Well, I thought she did very well. I think, it's a challenge when you come out of the A-League women and then suddenly have to come up and play at this level. And particularly when you look that we had some other changes in the team through injury tonight. But she's a real threat. She's a real handful, and it's great to have that kind of old-fashioned, if you like, centre forward that keeps trying to make runs in behind. And I thought she caused the defence a lot of problems tonight. And the more she gets game time at this level, I think the better she'll get.
Her aside, how important was it to just win?
Very important.
Just for
Yeah, very important. Right, really critical to win, and to win in a clean sheet makes it even better. And I was really pleased with how the players went about the job. You know, it's no secret that the She Believes wasn't a great tournament for us from a whole variety of reasons. And then we've come in tonight, and obviously Haley Razzo has been injured, and Micah's been injured, and Ellie's been injured, and we're managing minutes with some of the other players. So when you put all that together, I thought it was a really terrific effort from the team, and more like how we want to play. Not just about the quality, but how we actually want to go about the games. You know, I thought we've been, you know, if you look back at our last several games, apart from the Taipei games, we've kind of been on the back foot from the start, and we've conceded goals early and always been chasing the game. But I thought tonight our attitude from the start was very good.
That
Jo.
piece about mood going into this window, was that sort of at the forefront of your mind going into this game?
Yeah, very much so. You know, we talked about it and we said, like, you know, teams have, particularly international teams, have up and downs based on a whole variety of things. But at some stage, you've got to try and get some. We talked about trying to get some momentum back, and that was the key thing that we talked about tonight, because that changes the mood, it changes the confidence. So getting out there and getting that win is really important, and hopefully that'll start giving us more momentum going into the next game and then heading in towards the Asian Cup.
Do you think that was, I guess, largely helped by obviously losing players to injuries that are out of control, but you get to have someone like Jamila Rankin starting?
Absolutely, and she did terrifically. And that, you know, it's one of those, some players' misfortunes and other players' good fortune. That's what football's about, and that's what we all deal with as managers and as players. And as I say, I haven't. Jamila's been in one camp with me, and but she didn't actually play in that camp. So this is the first time I've seen her live with a Matilda shirt on, and I thought she handled herself very, very well.
Erin in the national.
Just Tommy mentioned the, I guess, way of play. Was there a big focus on that stronger attack and trying to get more goals, even though we didn't quite find the net probably as many times as you wanted?
No, we didn't. Like, it would have been good to get a goal earlier because I thought we started the game very well. But we did want to start really on the front foot. We talked about being aggressive, pressing aggressively, and not taking a backward step and trying to play at a tempo that made Korea uncomfortable. And as I say, I think particularly started the game and did that really well. Lost a little bit of momentum after Caitlin got injured for some reason, and they came back into the game. But in general, I felt that, you know, what we talked about trying to do, I thought the players did it really well.
And what would be your take from this game, obviously, given we have to are likely to come up against them at the Asian Cup?
Well, I think it kind of, it's hard to answer that. I think even if we hadn't played this game, as I say, I think the key thing when we come up against Asian teams of like Japan, Korea, China's quality, we can't afford to kind of sit back and just absorb pressure. We've really got to go out aggressively and really try to close them down and to make them uncomfortable. And as I say, I thought we did that well tonight.
Kyra Penny-Cross, I think, was probably player of the match in my opinion. She was exceptional everywhere. How do you think it's been for her? She's obviously now getting minutes at Arsenal and then coming into the team as well.
Yeah, look, I think she's now, she's a start. You hate to say she's established in this team because then if I leave her out, you'll give me stick. So I've got to be careful what I say. Look, I think it's fairly obvious that she's now established herself as a very important player for the Matildas, and she's got all the great qualities of a high-level midfield player. You know, she's got a great engine, a great work rate, ability to dribble, ability to hit long passes, ability to create. So, you know, she's just generally a great all-round player.
And we had Sam back, and we got our first win of 2025. What was it like having her back? And the crowd was so loud every time she appeared on the screen. It's
fantastic, and I just want to say, you know, you read a lot of stuff, you hear a lot of stuff. the real Matilda supporters show what they think of Sam Kerr, and they're absolutely delighted to have her back, as are the team, as are the staff, and obviously, hopefully, Sam's happy to be. She might take credit, you know, tonight as an assistant coach. I'm not sure, but you know, it's really good to have her back. She's been a really positive influence around the squad, and hopefully, you know, it's not too long before she's back on the pitch.
Over here and then Amanda.
Claire Wheeler and Mary Fowler had some good cameos off the bench tonight. What was the thought process in not having them in the starting side?
Well, good question. Two things, well, one for each. Claire has been really unfortunate. She's missed her last two camps, one because of injury, and then was it concussion? She had?
It was another injury.
It was another injury. She just picked up injuries just before coming into camp in the last two occasions. Then she was coming back into the team, and then she got sick. So she really hasn't had very much game time. I think, you know, probably for the last several weeks, she's probably only played about 30 minutes for Everton. So you know, it makes sense to bring her off the bench at this stage, although she might start on Monday, but she's not going to be playing 90 minutes. And Mary's the same. You know, Mary's put in a significant shift at Man City. They've had a lot of injuries over the last few months, and she's playing game after game after game. And she's still a young player. So we've got to really be careful that we don't overcook those players.
And you mentioned, you know, obviously Mary's playing a lot at Manchester City and she's performing well in terms of goals and assists. That's something she hasn't been able to do for the national team. How exactly do you and potentially the manager who replaces you, how do you unlock that?
Well, I think there's probably two things to unlock it. It's her getting more and more game time in the national team, and then figuring out where she fits best. And to be honest, I've been a little bit guilty of that, because when I've looked at Mary from the outside before I had the job, she looked like she had all the qualities, a bit like Kyra Cooney-Cross, of that kind of midfield player, when in fact, the more I see her, the more she's probably a more effective player on the right or the left, where she's got a bit of space and a bit of time and can dribble and create from there. So it's about her getting more and more game time probably in those positions. Then, you know, hopefully we get a little bit more of a consistent team on the pitch, because to be fair, the last few months it's been really difficult to get a consistent starting lineup or even squad. So hopefully a combination of those things will start to bring out the best in her.
Right, final question over here.
Tom, even though you're only in this role for a short time, you've been forced to build depth in this squad. Where do you feel the depth is at now?
It's been a long time, Amanda. I thought it was supposed to be a short time, but I'm still here. Look, you're always, you know, and I've kind of at the expense of repeating myself, you know, whether you're an interim coach or you're the full-time coach for a longer period of time, you've got to do the job that you've got to do. And in the national team, as I say, you're playing for the present, but at the same time you're trying to prepare for the future. So it's important that you don't just stick to a starting 11 and then that same starting 11 and bring a player in for 5 or 10 minutes. You've actually got to get players out on the field to see how they go playing international football, and that's just part of the job.